Imagine waking up to find $20,000 sitting in your bank account. Then the next month, another $20,000. And the month after that, the same thing, no boss, no commute, total freedom over your schedule. Sounds like a fantasy, right? For one guy I recently spoke with, this became his reality at just 23 years old. And the wildest part? 4 years earlier, he was just a broke college student, binge-watching the exact kind of videos you're watching right now. Stop hustling harder. Start hustling smarter. Let's dive in. Hey guys, so I wanted to share some really practical advice for anyone who's thinking about starting an online business, especially if you've been consuming a lot of content but haven't taken that first step yet. I recently talked with this 23-year-old guy who's been making around $20,000 in profit every month consistently for the past 6 months. That's almost double what he was making as a software engineer. What's crazy is he actually quit his job about 4 to 5 months before hitting that level of profitability. His whole journey started 4 years ago when he was just a 19-year-old college student. He watched some video about making passive income online, and unlike 99% of people who watch that stuff, he actually took action on it. That's the first big lesson right there. Most people consume this content but never take that first step. Starting with whatever you have. Look, you don't need perfect equipment or to be some world-class expert to begin. This guy literally borrowed a microphone from a friend, spent a few hours planning his content, filmed it in an afternoon, and launched his first Skillshare course within just 3 days. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. But it was out there. You know what that first course made over 4 years? About $1,500. Not exactly life-changing money, right? But here's the thing. That first project doesn't have to be your big break. It's just your entry ticket into the game. When I started, I used my phone camera with natural lighting from my window and free editing software. The quality was, let's just say, it was obviously amateur. But those early, imperfect attempts taught me so much more than if I'd spent months researching the perfect setup. Finding your unique value. One thing that really helps when you're starting is to just take inventory of what you already know. Grab a piece of paper and write down everything you're good at or know more about than the average person. Maybe you're really good at organizing digital files, or you've successfully navigated a career change, or you know how to train dogs, or you've figured out how to travel on a budget. Even things that seem basic to you could be super valuable to someone else. I remember thinking, who would pay to learn about this stuff from me? But then I started getting comments like, I've been trying to figure this out for months, thank you. That's when I realized you don't need to be the world's top expert. You just need to be a few steps ahead of your audience. Testing different content formats. Another practical tip is to experiment with different content formats. I had no idea YouTube would end up being my main platform. I tried blogging first and man, I found it so tedious. Then I tried podcasting, but setting up the audio quality was frustrating. When I finally tried video, something clicked. I actually enjoyed the process, even though editing was a pain at first. You might find that writing comes naturally to you, or maybe you're great at explaining things verbally. You won't know until you try. I always tell people to give each format a fair shot. Create at least 5 to 10 pieces of content in each format before deciding if it's for you. Sometimes the learning curve makes the first few attempts feel awkward, but you might find your groove after that. Creating a schedule you'll actually stick to. One of the biggest game changers for me was creating a specific publishing schedule. Not just saying I'll post when I have time, but actually blocking out specific times in my calendar. For the first year, I committed to posting every Wednesday at 2 p.m. I blocked Tuesday evenings for filming and early Wednesday for editing. I treated these as non-negotiable appointments with myself. Some weeks I really didn't feel like doing it, but having that commitment in my calendar made the difference between consistent growth and sporadic posting. This guy I mentioned earlier used an app called BeMinder that would charge his credit card $100 if he didn't post a video every week. He said he's paid them over $1,000 for missed deadlines, but that accountability mechanism helped him stay consistent when motivation was low. Tracking what works from day one. Even when you only have like 20 subscribers or followers, start paying attention to which content performs better. You don't need fancy analytics tools at first. Just notice which posts get more engagement. I keep a super simple spreadsheet where I track the title of each piece of content, when I published it, how many views, likes it got after a week, and any notable comments. Every month, I look at this data and ask, what are the patterns here? What topics seem to resonate? What headlines get more clicks? This data has been invaluable. For example, I noticed that my how-to content consistently outperformed my theory-based content, even though I personally enjoyed creating the theory stuff more. This insight helped me pivot my content strategy to focus more on practical tutorials, which accelerated my growth. Building your email list immediately. If there's one thing I wish I'd done from day one, it's building an email list. Social media algorithms change constantly, but your email list is something you own and control. You don't need anything fancy to start. A simple sign-up form on your website or a link in your video descriptions is enough. Offer something valuable in exchange for their email, maybe a cheat sheet, a template, or a quick guide that solves a specific problem. I waited almost a year before starting my list, and I still kick myself about all those potential connections I missed. Now my email list is by far my most valuable asset. When I launch something new, that's where the majority of my sales come from, not from my much larger social media following. Dealing with the inevitable self-doubt. Let's talk about something everyone faces but few people discuss openly, the self-doubt and uncertainty that comes with putting yourself out there. There were so many moments when I thought about quitting. Times when I posted a video I worked really hard on and it got like 12 views, or when I launched a product and barely anyone bought it. Those moments are brutal, and they happen to everyone. What helped me was creating what I call a why document. I wrote down all the reasons I was doing this, the freedom I wanted, the impact I hoped to make, the lifestyle I was working toward. When things got tough, I'd go back and read it. Also, finding a community of people on similar journeys was game-changing. Whether it's a Discord server, Facebook group, or local meetup, having people who understand the ups and downs makes a huge difference. They can provide feedback, encouragement, and sometimes just validation that what you're experiencing is normal. Setting realistic milestones. Another practical tip is to set small, achievable milestones. Instead of a goal like, make $10,000 a month, start with, get my first 100 subscribers, or create 10 quality videos. These small wins build momentum. Each one gives you a little dopamine hit and the confidence to keep going. I still remember doing a little dance around my apartment when I got my first YouTube subscriber who wasn't a friend or family member. Celebrate those small wins. I like to break the journey into phases. Foundation phase. Create your first 10 pieces of content. Growth phase. Reach 100 followers. Engagement phase. Get to 1,000 followers. Monetization phase. Make your first $100, then $1,000. Having these smaller targets makes the journey feel less overwhelming and gives you regular opportunities to acknowledge your progress. What to expect in your first few years. Let me give you a realistic timeline of what to expect based on both my experience and patterns I've seen with many others. In your first 3 to 6 months, you're basically learning the ropes. You'll create your first batch of content, maybe gain a few hundred followers, but financial results will be minimal. This is normal. You're building skills and finding your voice during this time. From 6 to 12 months, you'll start understanding what resonates with your audience. You might get your first brand deal or sell your first product, but most likely, you're still operating at a loss financially. Again, totally normal. In years 1 to 2, if you've been consistent, you might start making $500 to $1,000 a month from various income streams. This is when things start getting exciting because you're seeing tangible results from your efforts. Years 2 to 3 is when some creators start making enough to consider replacing their full-time income, while others continue growing steadily. And as we saw with the guy I mentioned earlier, years 3 to 4 is often when the real breakthrough happens, when all your experience, skills, and audience building combine into something substantial. He went from making under $6,000 a month to over $30,000 a month during this period. The key insight here is that success rarely happens overnight. There's usually a long period where you're putting in work without seeing proportional results. Then suddenly, things start to compound. Common pitfalls to avoid. Let me share some mistakes I've made and seen others make so you can avoid them. First, perfectionism. Man, this is a killer. I spent 3 weeks editing my first video trying to make it perfect. What a waste of time. That video got like 30 views, and the audio was still bad despite all my efforts. Better to publish something imperfect than nothing at all. I use what I call the 70% rule now. When my work reaches about 70% of my ideal standard, I publish it. That last 30% of quality improvement takes disproportionate time and effort, and most people won't even notice the difference. Another mistake is trying to be everywhere at once. I see new creators setting up accounts on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and LinkedIn all at the same time. That's a recipe for burnout and mediocrity across all platforms. Pick one or two main platforms that make sense for your content type and audience and focus there. Master one platform before expanding to others. For me, it was YouTube plus an email list. That combination was manageable and effective. A third common mistake is copying without adding value. The internet doesn't need another generic fitness channel or finance blog. What it needs is your unique perspective or experience. Ask yourself, what unusual combination of skills do I have? What audience segment is underserved? What's a common problem that I solved in an unconventional way? Your uniqueness is your advantage. And finally, waiting too long to think about monetization. Many creators spend years building an audience without any clear idea of how they'll eventually make money. While focusing solely on monetization too early can compromise your authenticity, completely ignoring it isn't smart either. From the beginning, think about, how do others in my niche make money? What problems am I helping solve that people would pay for? What skills am I developing that have market value? The power of self-reflection. One practice that's helped accelerate my growth is asking myself a set of reflection questions each week. What did I learn about my audience this week? This keeps me focused on serving their needs rather than just creating what interests me. Which content performed best and why? Understanding these patterns helps me create more of what resonates. What am I avoiding and why? Often the things we resist contain important growth opportunities. What's one thing I can improve next week? This focuses me on incremental progress rather than overwhelming transformation. These questions have helped me evolve much faster than if I'd just been creating content without analyzing what was working. Final thoughts. Let me leave you with this. Consistency trumps everything else. Someone who creates one decent piece of content every week for 2 years will outperform someone who creates 20 amazing pieces in 1 month and then disappears. The compound effect of showing up regularly is powerful. Each piece of content you create improves your skills a little bit. Each new follower increases your reach a little bit. Each product or service you offer refines your business model a little bit. These small improvements compound over time into dramatic results. And remember, you can start today, not when you have better equipment, more time, or more knowledge. The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is right now. What small step could you take in the next 24 hours to get started? Maybe it's writing down your knowledge inventory, setting up a simple website, or recording your first piece of content. Whatever it is, don't let this be just another video you consume without taking action. I'd love to hear in the comments what your first step is going to be. And if you've already started your journey, what's been your biggest challenge or lesson so far? Alright, that's it for today's video. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical online business advice. See you in the next one. Alright, let me wrap this up with a challenge for you. Here's what I want you to do. I'm calling this the 7-Day Creator Kickstart Challenge. It's designed to get you from thinking about creating to actually publishing content within 1 week. Day 1. Spend 30 minutes writing down your knowledge inventory. What do you know that others might find valuable? What problems have you solved? What skills have you developed? Don't overthink this. Just brain dump everything. Day 2. Choose one platform to focus on. Based on your strengths and what you enjoy, pick either writing, video, or audio as your primary medium. Then select the specific platform. YouTube, TikTok, a blog, a podcast, whatever feels most natural to you. Day 3. Identify 3 specific topics from your knowledge inventory that you could create content about. Then ask yourself, which of these would be most helpful to beginners? That's your first piece of content. Day 4. Create an outline for your first piece of content. Keep it simple. An intro explaining the problem, 3 to 5 main points, and a conclusion with a next step for your audience. Day 5. Create your content. Don't worry about making it perfect. Remember the 70% rule. When it hits 70% of your ideal standard, that's good enough for your first attempt. Day 6. Basic editing and review. Fix any obvious issues, but don't get stuck in endless tweaking. Also, create a simple headline that clearly communicates the benefit of your content. Day 7. Publish it. Then share what you created with me in the comments of this video. I'll personally check out everyone's first creation and provide some feedback. The key to this challenge is committing to the timeline. No waiting until you feel ready or have the perfect setup. Use whatever equipment you have right now, even if it's just your phone. I'm serious about this. I want to see at least 50 people complete this challenge. If you're in, write "I'm committed" in the comments right now, and let's hold each other accountable. So, to recap everything we've covered in today's episode, we talked about this 23-year-old who went from being a college student to making $20,000 per month online in about 4 years. His journey shows that success doesn't happen overnight, but it is possible if you're willing to be consistent. The key lessons we discussed were: start with whatever you have, borrowed equipment, basic knowledge, it doesn't matter. Just get started. Identify your unique value and knowledge that others would find helpful. Experiment with different content formats until you find what works for you. Create a specific publishing schedule that you'll actually stick to. Track what works from day one, even with a small audience. Build an email list immediately. It's one of your most valuable assets. Prepare for self-doubt and have strategies to overcome it. Set realistic milestones so you can celebrate small wins along the way. Understand the realistic timeline. Success usually takes years, not months. Avoid common pitfalls like perfectionism, trying to be everywhere at once, copying others without adding value, and waiting too long to think about monetization. Practice self-reflection to accelerate your learning and growth. Remember that consistency trumps everything else in the long run. I truly believe that anyone listening to this podcast can build a successful online business if they're willing to take action and stay the course. The internet has democratized opportunity in a way that's unprecedented in human history. You don't need connections, credentials, or massive capital to get started. What you do need is the courage to begin, the discipline to continue when results are slow, and the wisdom to learn and adapt as you go. I'd love to hear how this episode resonated with you. Send me a DM on Instagram or leave a review on Apple Podcasts letting me know your biggest takeaway. And don't forget about the 7-day Creator Kickstart Challenge. I'm really excited to see what you all create. Tag me in your first piece of content with hashtag Creator Kickstart so I can share it and give you some feedback. Thanks for listening to another episode of Podcast Name. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it. And remember, the best time to start was years ago, but the second best time is right now. I'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the podcast is to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Every bit of support helps us keep creating content that actually matters. See you in the next one.